We continue to celebrate Easter, and today our readings give us a few different dimensions to think about when we think about the impact of Easter for our own lives. First reading, Acts of the Apostles, we're told that we're not just a group of different families gathering together, that we are, as a Christian community, one family. And the Christian community, the very early Christian community, they lived together in common, a bit like a compound or a religious community all living together. The children from one family were playing with another family. They knew each other. They would eat together. They would pray together on a daily basis. They had things held in common. And to a certain extent, we have some of that even today as well. There are some things that are held in common within our parish. There are things that are not just owned by me or owned by you, we own together as the parish. And we should take a delight in other people's faith as well, because faith is not just something for ourselves. Faith is something that's held in common with all of us. And so when one person receives a sacrament, whether it's baptism or confirmation, whether it's a wedding, whether it's whatever the sacraments, we should take delight in that. When one person's suffering, we shouldn't just say, oh, well, that person's got cancer, bad luck. As a community, we gather together. We help them. We pray for them. We support them because we are one family. And that's the way the Christian community were after the resurrection. And that's the way we're meant to be as well. So that's an insight that we get from our first reading. The second reading, St. John, writing to communities about 40 or 50 years after Jesus had resurrected and ascended into heaven, is reminding the community it's not that difficult to be a Christian. We're called to be people of love. To live the ways of the commandments of God is to live a life of love. And in one sense, this is a little bit complicated, but you don't need to be a rocket scientist. We live a life of love. Love for God, love for self, love for others. And we're called to do that. Practically, but also on a daily basis in our own lives. So we're called to be part of one family. We're called to be people of love. And then we get to our gospel. So our gospel gives us a few insights as well. Firstly, on the day of the resurrection, Jesus arrives. Jesus shows himself to those who were there in Jerusalem, and he brings peace. Jesus doesn't come to bring destruction, he comes to bring peace. That's the gift of the resurrection, it's peace. And we should seek inner peace. If you don't have inner peace, pray for it. Pray for it every day until you have inner peace. At times I find I don't have peace and I pray for it. I ask God to fill me with his life, to bring peace into me. That is the gift of the resurrection. It is peace. And we're called to be people of peace. So pray to be people of peace. Pray that we will experience peace and share peace with others. We then get to Thomas. Thomas wasn't there on the day of the resurrection when Jesus appears. And he doesn't believe. As his friends, he's saying, we've seen Jesus, he was here. And he says, unless I can put my hands into the holes, put my hand into his side, I'm not going to believe. And we can all be like this. We probably know people who are a bit stubborn at times as well, who won't take our word that something is actually the truth, something's incredible. And eventually, we have 8 days later, a bit like what today would be, Jesus appears again and Thomas is there. Thomas, chastised a little bit, you could say, Jesus has this interaction with him. Hey, Thomas, come over here. Put your hands in my holes. Put my hand in the side. But then Thomas says something that's not said anywhere else in the Gospels. He says a statement which we should say perhaps every time we come to Mass. He says, my Lord and my God. Which is an incredible thing to say. He didn't just say, oh, this is the Son of God, or this is Jesus. My Lord and my God. What an act of faith that is. We're told, many of you might have been instructed, and I was instructed when I was preparing for First Holy Communion, that when the priest lifts up the host and lifts up the chalice, silently in our own hearts, we can say that prayer of St. Thomas, that we can see what looks like bread, but we know it's more than just bread. like Thomas, who could see there was a man in front of him. But he knew this was more than a man. He knew this was God. So Thomas says, "My Lord and my God." And when we come to Mass, we're called to believe as well, "My Lord, my God." Let's be part of a family. Let's take delight in the joys of others within our community. Let's feel the sorrows and the sufferings of those within our community, because we are one family. Let us live the way of love. Let us believe in peace, experience peace, and come to that deep belief in the presence of Jesus Christ in our world today. In a moment, I'll invite Sister Marie, who's from the Aid to the Church in Need, will speak to us about the work of the Aid to the Church in Need. We often pray for the church overseas, the church in very difficult situations, and Sister today will talk to us a little bit about some of the work of Aid to the Church in Need, which is an important thing that we all need to know about, so we can pray for the work of the church in difficult situations throughout the world. Please welcome Sister Marie.